This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
The 7th Regiment of the U.S. Cavalry, all 12 companies together for the first time since the unit's formation after the Civil War, advanced during a march lasting from just after midnight to daylight. On June 25, 1876, daylight arrived at that eastern Montana latitude as early as 2:30 in the morning. In the initial darkness, men, horses, and pack mules filed along, guided only by the soft clanking of metallic gear ahead and behind. These accoutrements did not include the cavalrymen's trademark sabers. Lieutenant Colonel Custer had ordered them left behind at the camp near the mouth of the Powder River. The famous 7th Cavalry Band also remained behind on June 22nd, after it played the regimental song, Gary Owen, for the 31 officers, 566 enlisted men, 35 Indian scouts, 13 quartermaster employees, 2 civilians, and 140 mule pack train, all departing under Custer's personal command. Some enlisted men and civilian admirers still referred to their commander as General Custer. He had earned the rank of Major General by brevet and appointment during the Civil War. The lieutenant colonel had ordered the march in the dark, quiet early hours of June 25th, moving along Davis Creek and up the hilly divide that separated his regiment from the valley of the Little Bighorn River. The plan was to summit the Wolf Mountains quickly and then rest on the other side. Stealth also guided 2nd Lieutenant Charles Barnum, Chief Scout Charlie Lonesome Reynolds, and nearly a dozen Arikara or Ree Indian scouts on a separate night ride to a high spur called the Crow's Nest, a vantage point known by the Crow Indians, who conveniently hid there after they had stolen horses from their mortal enemies, the Sioux. The scouts hoped that in the clarity of the cool morning air, the view from the Crow's Nest would reveal wisps of smoke rising from the Sioux village they suspected to find in the Little Bighorn Valley. As dawn approached, every man strained to locate the anticipated village some 15 miles away. While Lieutenant Barnum had difficulty seeing far distances in the dim early morning light, his Indian scouts were able to recognize a very large herd of ponies. Barnum's skepticism that any living thing could be detected at such a distance prompted the Rees to adjust his sights, telling him to look for worms in the grass instead of horses on a hillside. When Barnum's messengers found Custer shortly afterward, the regiment had halted along the trail for a 4 to 5 hour rest and a soldier's breakfast of raw bacon, hardtack, and canteen water. A few fires were started for coffee. Custer himself reached the Crow's Nest at around 9 a.m., when the more moisture-laden mid-morning air made it impossible to see the worms in the distant grass. Even using Lieutenant Charles Derudio's Austrian-made field glasses, the lieutenant colonel never saw the huge pony herd that the scouts insisted was a sign of an immense enemy village. The Ree had understood the importance of the pony numbers. Bloody Knife, Custer's favorite scout, predicted that a fight with such a large number of Sioux in the valley could last 3 days. Charlie Reynolds warned that below them was the greatest encampment of hostiles that he had ever seen on the upper Missouri, and Mitch Boyer, a mixed-blood Sioux, personalized the odds. "If you don't find more Indians in that valley than you ever saw together before," he declared, "you can hang me." But the genuine concern of the scouts seemed to fall on deaf ears. While Custer accepted the reports of the village location, he dismissed the warnings about its size. He even berated several scouts as cowards. The regiment continued to march up Davis Creek until just after 10 a.m., when Custer, Barnum, and the scouts rejoined the command. Now armed with the knowledge of the Sioux village's location, Custer considered moving his troops even closer to ready them for an attack in the early morning of June 26th. This plan was still consistent with the strategy outlined several days earlier by Brigadier General Alfred Terry, commander of the expedition. He had ordered the 7th Cavalry to ride south, scouting upriver on Rosebud Creek, traverse to the Little Bighorn River, and then move north, pushing downriver on June 25th. In so doing, Custer would act as the southern pincer in coordination with the northern pincer, soldiers under Terry and Colonel John Gibbon, commanding officer of the Montana Column, marching south from the Yellowstone River and advancing up the Little Bighorn. Together they would squeeze the encamped Sioux into submission and eventual relocation onto their designated reservation. But for the second time that morning, Custer received some unwelcome news.